Fog of Failure. The Lighthouse and the Sea Otters. Here is a short story about two playful sea otters who discover that failure is not falling short of the world's expectations, but failing to become something they were never created to be. On a rocky island surrounded by restless waves stood an old lighthouse named Radiance. Every night its beams swept steadily across the sea, turning through fog, wind and darkness without losing its purpose. Below the lighthouse lived two sea otters named Pip and Poppy. They floated on their backs, spun through the water, balanced shells on their bellies, and held paws whenever the waves became rough. Pip and Poppy did not take the ocean personally. When a wave rolled them over, they popped back up. When a shell slipped away, they found another. When they bumped into each other, they laughed and kept playing. One foggy morning, Pip watched several serious-looking seabirds flying in perfect formation. "We should become more successful," he said. Poppy stopped twirling. "What does successful look like? Straight lines, important faces, no mistakes." They began practicing. They stopped playing and tried to swim in formation. They polished their fur until it lay perfectly flat. They carried stones instead of shells because stones looked more serious. Whenever one of them laughed, the other whispered, "Focus." By sunset, they were exhausted. "We failed," Pip sighed. High above them, the lighthouse beam moved through the fog. A quiet voice seemed to travel down the tower. "What did you fail to become?" Pip looked at Poppy. "Serious." "What else?" "Separate," said Poppy. "We kept reaching for each other's paws." They tried once more to swim alone, but the current gently brought them back together. "We failed at that too," Pip said. The lighthouse beam passed over them again. They began naming all their failures. They had failed to become seabirds. They had failed to please everyone watching from the shore. They had failed to control the waves. They had failed to remain guilty about yesterday. They had failed to stay unhappy. They had failed to convince themselves that love had abandoned them. With every failure they named, the fog seemed thinner. Poppy suddenly laughed. "We are wonderful failures." Pip dropped his serious stone into the sea. "I failed to become what I am not." They splashed, rolled and spun beneath the lighthouse beam. Radiance remained rooted vertically, its light reaching from the foundation toward the open sky. It did not chase the waves or argue with the fog. It simply remembered the light and extended it. Pip and Poppy moved horizontally across the water, playing together within the world of changing waves. They did not need to escape the ocean. Their playfulness helped them stop treating every temporary splash as a tragedy. The lighthouse showed them stillness. The sea taught them movement. The light reminded them of truth. Their laughter reminded them not to make the dream so serious. Another heavy bank of fog rolled across the water. Pip could no longer see the shore. "What should we do?" he asked. Poppy pointed toward the turning beam. "Stay aware of the light and keep playing." They held paws and floated beneath the mist. The fog did not disappear immediately, but they no longer called it failure. It was simply something passing through. Pip looked upward. The light never failed to shine. "And we never succeeded at becoming separate from it," Poppy replied. Together they celebrated every false identity that had failed, every guilty story that had failed, every attempt to become unloved that had failed. Above them, Radiance continued turning. Below it, the otters continued playing. Vertical awareness met horizontal playfulness, and neither needed to defeat the other. The light gave their play direction, and their play gave the light expression. From that day forward, whenever Pip or Poppy appeared to make a mistake, they asked one simple question: did love fail? The answer was always no. May we sing, rest, and dance our way home together.